Hey, it's been some time since I made a video, and now I'm back once again. So I was just thinking that about the paranormal. People, they have shows on TV about that, and they have all this supposedly compelling evidence about how, there's a cold spot and there's all this. And I've never apologized for the camera lens view here, shifting. I've never subscribed to that stuff. I'm not a, the thing that I always struggle with paranormal activity, ghosts and apparitions and things like that is kind of like they laid out in that movie Ghost, like with Patrick Swayze. How could he interact? Like, he couldn't move the penny. He was trying. I mean, eventually he worked on it and he was able to find a way around it. But seems like they laid out clearly some physics issues that would, obviously they needed to overcome. And I think those are some valid points. How could someone leave the realm that we live in the living, and go to another dimension and then still be able to interface with us? It seemed like they would be two different, they're two different dimensions, two different realms, so you can't interface with one another. I know people talk about, I hear ghosts, chains and moaning and groaning and all this other stuff, and then, I'm just kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. I just don't buy it. I don't feel like the evidence is there to sufficiently. I'd apologize for the sun this morning. I just don't feel like it's there. And so I got to thinking about that and ghosts and paranormal activity and how shoddy the evidence. I mean, even though they may say, oh, well, there's evidence to support, it's not like great empirical data. It's not great scientific data. I mean, I watch those shows about, the hauntings and the things like that, and it's just like, yeah, okay, maybe at best it's it's just not. I'm not buying it. So I transitioned from that, but using the same kind of logic and rationale, and I'm looking at, okay, well, it's the same thing that I struggled with the existence of God, and the same questions that came to my mind were, if God exists, how is he able to interface, through laws of physics in this realm? If he exists in another dimension, how is he able to interface? And people would say, oh, well, they would harmonize, or they would try to tap dance around it and say, oh, well, it's this, and then they would try to find ways of sort of explaining away the inconsistencies of their beliefs, of the things that they're trying to put forth. And I kind of thought of it like this. It's the same kind of argument where people will be like, well, and because no one would believe that the Easter Bunny is real. I mean, sure, people tell their kids that story when they're young or whatever, or Santa Claus, but it was just sort of the same limitations that you find in that. If the Easter Bunny is real, and he goes around delivering, Easter baskets on Easter morning to all these kids, I mean, how does he overcome the issue of, does he have a master key for every lock on every door in the world? And he goes, same thing with Santa Claus. How does he go into the homes that don't have chimneys? If he's supposed to deliver all the presents to the boys and girls, how does he physically? Oh, well, he has invisible power, or he can float through door. I mean, it's just, so you start crafting all these ways of sidestepping some major roadblocks in that, believing in that. And I know it's kind of funny to make the comparison, say, oh, Santa Claus, he can't go fit down every chimney, but it's the same kind of thing. How can a supreme being, how can a deity, how can a God, a supernatural being? Well, he's God, he can just do those things. Oh, well, he's just Santa, he can just find a way. Or, oh, he's the Easter Bunny, he or she will find a way to get through the door, or to believe the Easter basket. It's just this sort of same, like, Robert Price says, it's that sort of same gymnastics that you start having to do to start believing in these things. And now, I'm not saying that God can't be real and couldn't exist, but I'm saying if he does, or she, depending on which gender, generally the Bible describes God as a he, so not to upset any of the feminists out there, but there's some significant physics, laws of physics issues that are presented when you consider, well, if God exists, God controls everything. He makes it rain. Well, we have other scientific explanations for things like, why does it rain and how does that happen? And we've studied all these things, and to me, those are rock solid explanations rather than the gymnastics that we have to do to believe in God and to believe that God does this and does that and somehow is in heaven but yet is here. And so those were sort of some of the questions that, like, I began to contemplate, scientific questions, like not even really anything that's super deep, but just like, how does he do what he does if he's in another realm? How does he interface with us in this realm, in this dimension? So, and there was really no solid, answers for that. You couldn't really bring that. You bring that to any pastor, or reverend, or preacher of a church, they tell you, well, we don't know, Dan, we'll just take it on faith and just believe in our hearts that, it's all true, it's all real, and we don't have all the answers, but, someday we'll get the answers when we get to heaven. It's like, that's like me saying to you, I don't have all the information on this certain stock, but I want you to invest a ton of money, a ton of your life into this stock, and I want you to just take my word for it that it's a good stock to buy. Now, it very well may be that it is a good stock, and it may pan out for you to make some significant cha-ching, or it may not, and so again, that's Pascal's wager. We'll take the chance. We don't really know if it's something we should believe in or we should not, but we just, hey, I'm going to take it on faith and just believe, So, and not necessarily anything wrong with that. I mean, shit, we do that with a ton of stuff throughout our lives. We just take on faith that the partner we're going to be with is going to love us till the death do part, and death do us part or whatever. But there's no guarantees in life. And so, yeah, maybe it's real, maybe it's not. But I think that, like I said, I think some significant challenges there. I think there's some significant issues when you're talking about physics and how, excuse me, these different things could interact with one another, and how a supreme being, supernatural being could interface with, like, you don't see angels. Angels are watching over us, and I think all those things are nice for people to believe in, but I don't know if they really serve them in the long run. If they really do more. I'm sure. What is it? Not Darwin, Dawkins. I think it would have some things to say how believing in God is. I thought it was the God delusion. I think it was. Would have some interesting comments about people believing in angels and demons and God and heaven and hell and that sort of thing. It's an interesting construct that really could mess people up when you think about it. When you impose these kind of belief systems on, especially impressionable minds, and that haven't been able to be formed to decide for themselves, what's what and whether to believe or not to believe, or to be able to sift, because they don't have a mind that's capable at that point of sifting. Now, is it a bad thing that you'd send your kids off to Sunday school and you teach them about Jesus and God and all this other, the Holy Spirit and the context of, Protestant or Christianity or whatever? Not necessarily, but I don't know. It just seems like there is a potential there for it to do some bad, and I can speak from personal experience on how that can play out throughout somebody's life when you're born into this heaven and hell complex. It's quite an interesting journey, and to view the world through those kind of rose-colored glasses, it did present some challenges. And did it serve me well in some ways? Probably in some ways it served me well. Other ways, I felt like it made my life way more convoluted, way more complex, way more guilt-ridden than it really needed to be. So, anyways, I digressed onto a whole nother level. But the point was just that laws of physics, how does a God interact with this realm and is able to accomplish, he makes it rain, or he does this, or these are all very childlike, fable, fairy tale kind of things. Easter Bunny, Santa Claus. How do we sidestep those issues? Like, Santa can't come down every chimney in the world because he's too fat, and not everybody has a small. He can slim himself down. I mean, it's like, really, it's like it becomes like these different pills that you have to swallow with trying to explain away the limitations of God. So, there's no limitations with God. Well, certainly there is when you begin to really take an honest look at the situation and see, okay, God's supposed to be able to do this. God's supposed to be... When there very well could be other explanations out there for how these things come to be and how these things take place. It's just what it is. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I say, to each his own. Believe it if you want. Don't believe it. It's whatever. I don't know. I love that part in that line in Rush. Whether you believe or don't believe, you stive still made a choice either way. So he chooses free will. So That's what I choose, and I think that's the right way to do it.